Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So you've not heard me say that for absolutely ages, but I'm back and we are reviewing another Terramaster product. So this is the Terramaster F8 SSD Plus. So the SSD Plus means it's an all SSD NAS, which is sort of first in the industry really. I've never personally seen anything like this advertised on the internet. So what that means is it's full NVMe, it's really light, so really lightweight. You could literally pack this in your suitcase, take it abroad with you, and access your files as you would at home. Now, we'll go through the exterior first, then we'll install some SSDs, and then we'll review the operating system installed on it by default. So, exterior, at the top of the NAS, you've simply got, you can see the inboard, the main board inside there, the power button, and that's pretty much it for the top. At the front, you've got the F8 SSD Plus sticker. You can take the sticker off if you'd like. And then on the back, this is where people are most interested really, the I/O of the device. So at the bottom we've got the 12V input that's used for the power of the NAS. We've got a standard HDMI port, 10GB interface. So if you remember when I reviewed the other Terramaster product, it had 2.5GB, but you can see now they've upgraded it to 10GB per second. Then we have two USB 3.2 at 10GB and a USB-C at 10GB per second. So quite nice I/O there. I know it's not meant to be a travel NAS, but I'd say it's really good if you do want to travel with this NAS. So let's get on to installing some SSDs in it. So let's go through installing SSDs. So what you need to do is first you take off, there's a little tiny thumb screw that you take out. I've already done this off camera. Really easy, just with your thumb and your index finger. No tools needed like a screwdriver. It's all pretty easy. And then at the bottom we've got the two fans. All we're going to do is push up on them two fans, and then you can see it just slides out. So this is just plastic, by the way. Now we'll go on the pricing later, but I think a nice bit of aluminium would be nice, just on the case. Now, as you can see, we have 4 NVMe slots on this side and another 4 on the other side. So we'll go through the internals first. This comes pre-installed with 16GB of DDR5, so that's obviously a SODIMM. Now this is just one stick of 16GB. What would have been nice to see is a bit of upgradability, but I do know that these boards are custom made, so it does make sense. But even if they just had an extra SODIMM slot so you could upgrade to 32 or above, that would be great. But 16GB just for a sole NAS, and not sort of running loads of Docker containers or VMs, I understand why. But you can see the 4 NVMe slots on top, and on the underside give it 8 total NVMe slots. So I've not got much, NVMe, not as much NVMe M.2 devices as some people may, but I have got two 256GB NVMe drives in the M.2 format. So I'll go ahead and install these. You do need a little small screwdriver for this. Now, so that's a bit different. Usually, I'd expect for these to be thumb, but unfortunately they're not. So I'll get to unscrewing these. We'll install the NVMe devices, and then I'll screw them back in. So I've got two 256GB NVMe's. I know that that's not much capacity, but it should give us sort of a RAID 1 configuration, or whatever the software does, we'll have to see. So I'll get these installed and I'll be back with you. So you can see that's all done now. It did take me a little bit of time to do so. What I would recommend is doing one at a time. I try to get ahead of myself and do 2 at once and try and screw 2 in at once, but my recommendation is just stick to 1 at a time. That's all I'm going to be installing in the internal bit of the NAS. So all I'm going to do is pop the cover back on. So obviously inverse, so going with the Terramaster facing up to the top, and just sliding that into place like so. Then all we need to do is find the thumb screw and screw it into place like so. So it's a nice easy fit. Now for upgradability that's great, just to be able to get into there without any tools, but again if you offered the NVMe slots, just a little thumb screw, just so you can upgrade them even easier without any tools, that would be great. But again, you can't really ask for much. That's it for the external part of the device. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to get it hooked up and we're going to turn it on, and I'm also going to see how well it fits in my rack too, just because it is very small. You can hold it in the palm of your hand really, and it does fit in, you know, a relatively, you know, an 18-year-old hand. So it's very nice. Again, the only improvement on the exterior I would say to Terramaster is just a nice aluminum finish on it. Now obviously this is all metal, so surely it wouldn't cost much more to even just get this bit aluminium. For the top you can leave that plastic, but nice power button, nice exterior. We'll get this plugged in, we'll switch it on, see how well it fits in my rack, and then we'll go onto the software. So you can see it may be a bit louder here, so sorry for the audio, but it fits very nicely next to my other Terramaster NAS. Fits to the right hand side of my UPS. Now all I need to do is press the power button. You hear an audible chime just like the F2, the F424, which is really nice. Now what I've done is I've powered this down. This is well, this now is serving as a backup vault because I have a disk shelf. Now if you want to see a video on this and what I'm using it for, what operating system I'm running with the disk shelf, etc., please just let me know in the comments. But you can see the power light. You may not be able to see it that well, but it's green. So what we're going to do, we're going to head onto the desktop, and we'll see if we can find this NAS remotely. So let's do it. So here we are on Windows. So I've loaded up the web page, finding the NAS through the TNAS PC client, just like any other Terramaster NAS. And you can see I've logged in to TOS 6.0, which comes pre-installed on this NAS. You can see it looks very basic, but it's all controlled through the UI. So if we click dashboard here, we've got a nice overview. This time isn't correct, by the way. Don't worry, I'm not, I'm not filming this video at 2:20 in the morning. Maybe we can go in the settings and fix that later. It's got a device name, the model, the version running, how long it's been up for. We can see CPU and memory usage. I'll go through what specs this device has in a moment. You can see the LAN and the WAN address. I'll have to blur that out. I'm unsure why it would show that in the UI though. You don't really need to know that. And then you have the up and down stream of network I/O, and then your volumes and temperatures. You can see it's running quite cool right now. I suspect that the discs, with being NVMe discs, do get quite hot, but the two fans installed should suffice, to cool the system down. Let's sort that time out. So if we go to control panel, and let's have a look here. So this is my first time using the device. I just set it up. So region and language, I'm guessing. Yeah, so it's in Chinese time at the moment. But what I'm looking for is London. So click on that. And then we should get a relative time zone. So you can see here. Now we've updated that. So what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to load this, just have a mess around with this off camera, and we'll see if I can find any features worth showing. I'm sure there is a lot of features due to the 16GB of RAM. I'm guessing that you can run quite a few things on this. So I'll be back in a few moments. So first what we're going to do is see how easy it is to create a share. So I can see obviously we've got an app menu here. Let's click on all applications. So these are the applications that come pre-installed on the device, pretty much with any NAS really. Certainly Synology, it is usually the basics of Control Panel and App Center. But you can see Terramaster have gone the extra mile and already installed Docker Manager and Terminal and things like that for us. Now I'm going to go into Control Panel to create the share. So you can see privileges here. If we click shared folder and then the plus sign, create, you can see it's telling us which volume we want to use. I'm going to give it a name, so I'll just call it test. Give it a description, test folder, test share for YouTube. You can hide the folder in network on Windows PCs, or they called it network neighborhood here. If I click on next, you can have an encryption key, enable recycling, let's do that. Next. And then set permissions, you can either do by user, user group, administrations, or do not set permissions. We'll just do by user for now, and make sure that my user, my HGS user's got read and write, which is right. So I'll click next. Do you need to set a storage quota? I'm just going to click cancel and confirm. We'll click OK. You can see there that now we have the test share. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be to actually connect, so let's see if I can connect. So I'm going to jump onto my jump box that I use for remote access to my home network, and we'll try and map a drive using the 10.0.0.85 IP address and see how easy it is. And then we'll go on to doing some file transfers. I expect the file transfers to obviously be at 1 gigabit per second all the time due to it being SSD based, but again I've not got the full 10 gigabit networking at home, so I cannot test the limits of the device, but as long as it meets my requirements for 1 gigabit per second, then obviously it passes the test for network transfers. So let me load up my jump box and I'll be back with you. So here we are on my jump box. You can see here, if we go to File Explorer and go to / 10.0.0.85, enter, you can see here we go already, a test folder. Now I will alert you that obviously we're not going to have to enter any credentials here to map the drives, but this is just because the local username and password is the same as what's on the NAS, so it won't ask us to. So let's map it. We'll map it to the T drive for test, finish, and you can see there it is. So this is obviously my ISOs drive and things like that is on my other NAS. You can see a lot more space comparing to the SSD RAID. But if I double click into this, we've got the recycle bin folder now as well. And let me see if I've got any downloads that I can transfer over. Just give me one moment to do so. So what I've done, a Windows 10 ISO should suffice. So if I copy that and paste it, let's see if we get a decent speed. So you can see it's climbing 80 megabytes per second. This is megabytes per second, not megabits. So this is about nearly 900 megabits per second, which is great. Now, there is a limitation because I'm just using some really crappy SSDs in my server, so I won't get the full speed. And also, the NIC is virtualized and I've got speed limits enabled. So I certainly would say that obviously we can set a decent sort of margin of 75 to 100 megabytes per second. Sorry. So that's quite decent. I'll see how good the read is, because read on SSDs is absolutely crazy. So we'll see how that goes. And then we'll go on to sort of deploying Docker containers and how easy that is, and see if there's any sort of virtual machine software that we can run, like VirtualBox or something like that, just to see if we can use this device with the 16 gig of RAM for something useful. Obviously you can just go ahead and use it as a NAS, but with that 16 gig of RAM we might as well use it. So let's try a read test. Let's paste it in the documents folder. You can see a solid 1 gig. So there you go. 112 megabytes per second. If we open up Task Manager, just for the moment, Does take some time sometimes. There you go, 960 odd megabits per second, which is great. Now, what I'm going to do then, let's see if we can deploy a Docker container. So, as I mentioned before, Docker Manager is already installed, so if we click on that, oh sorry, it isn't installed, so it's just linked. Right, okay, so let's click install, confirm. Oh, right, okay, so with this we need to install the Docker engine first, which is here. So let's do that. So that's where the applications are going to be installed. Let's try that again. So Docker engine. Right, okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Just give me one moment, let me investigate this, just give me a second. What I did to fix that was just come down to volume and apply under settings. So let's try again. So let's install the Docker engine first. Let's see how long this takes to install. So you can see downloads quite quickly, but that all depends on your bandwidth. But installation should be relatively quick too, due to it being an NVMe based system. Now, regards to actually what this system is set up is within obviously RAID is it looks like it struggles a little bit, this system, to actually do anything when installing applications, which I'm not very happy with. I wouldn't really expect that from a system with 16GB of RAM. But as I was saying before that, I've set it up in a T-RAID configuration. So the two disks are here, and it gives me one RAID. Obviously one disk can fail and the storage pool will continue to work. So that's how I've got it set up as at the moment. You can see Docker Engine is installed, and I quite like how Associated Apps is on here. So we click Docker Manager, install that too. That should begin to download. But again, I just don't like how the system struggled then just when I was deploying that application. I'd expect a bit more stability regarding that. But that may be just my browser session, or maybe just something that the developers don't expect you to do. So if I click on Docker Manager, so unable to locate Docker Engine, enable Docker Engine. So let me see if we can enable that now. Again, it's very non-intuitive how that's not enabled by default. I just don't understand why, if you installed it, why it wouldn't just be enabled anyway, because that's why I've installed it. But maybe it's just me. Again, with this browser session. So here's Docker Manager. Let's just minimize that. I do quite like the animations and the smoothness, but again, it's all browser based. As long as it can serve a web server, it should be fine to do anything. Projects, I'm assuming, is, yeah, so this is like a Docker Compose file sort of situation. Images, so we can import or look in the registry for images. It's nice to see that. And containers, obviously we can add that from an image. So what I'll do, I'll download the Ubuntu image. So clicking on it will open it in Docker Hub. I thought clicking on it would allow you to download it. So Ubuntu latest, let's click apply and see what happens from here. So that downloaded really quickly. It is a small image, but if you click on images, Ubuntu, again, it's just clicking on it again. It's taking me to that Docker Hub. I don't really like that. It's when you click on the name, I think, or something. But that's not great at all. I just want to click on it to click the play button. So if I click launch, Ubuntu, let's just leave it at that. Auto startup next. I'm not going to bother with any configuration, but you can see you can create networks, you can add a new network, etc. It's great stuff. Ports to output to host ports, variables, links, execution. So if I click confirm, containers in operation. Now let's see, what happens from this. So there's a restart, stop, add a new container. There's a little three dots that gives us more options. So let's click on that and do terminal. You can see, you can see host name -i. It's an actual, Ubuntu container. It doesn't know what sudo is, so it's obviously root privileges yet. But it's an Ubuntu container, so that works pretty good. You can use this to, whatever you want. But you deploy something better, like Nextcloud, for example, or something that has a purpose. That's just for a test. Now, for virtual machines, we're going to head back over to the App Center. Recommended seems like a great section to get started with, and I do like these recommendations. Obviously, having a backup solution, cloud synchronization, Docker as we've covered, surveillance manager, so that's great. So it looks like they've got the competitor to Synology surveillance station, so that's great to see. It looks like they've got a competitor to obviously Synology Photos. And that uses AI algorithms, which is something that other competitors don't offer. So that may be a good thing to check out. And obviously Docker Manager and iSCSI, Plex, things like that. Let's see if I can search for virtual. There we go, VirtualBox. So let's install VirtualBox to it. Now, whilst that's installing, I'll just take you through the specs of the system. So it's very quite, it's quite a powerful system, and it should be really for its price. Now, within regards to the settings, they're very intuitive, like system info. You can see an overview here. It's got an i3 N305. That's 8 cores for a NAS, which is great. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that's 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's great. It's great stuff, and you can see it's not struggling at all here. Now, the odd thing is, here, I can see loads of volumes. Now, I know that this is splitting everything off between apps, but just show me that volume too. You can see hardware information. Again, network showing my public IP address, so I'm going to have to blur that out. I'm just unsure why that WAN is there. It just doesn't make sense to me. So maybe if there's an option where it's off by default but you can turn it on, that would be great. If I open up VirtualBox now, let's just click OK. So there's something wrong with the config.php. So I'm unsure why all these errors are happening when I'm trying to install applications. Whether I need to install Java or something like that, I really am unsure. Now, that's going to be it for this video. You can see there's quite a few community apps that you can install too, but I'm going to leave it there for this video. I hope you enjoyed the review. Do I recommend this NAS? Yeah, it's great. If you're looking, obviously, to spend a little bit more money on an SSD only NAS, definitely take a look at this F8 SSD plus NAS. If you're looking for a hard drive based solution, Terramaster is the way to go. I'm running the F424 at the moment as my backup server, but I was running the F424 for about 6 months, just running as a normal NAS with a RAID 1 2TB array. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, please check out my other review on the Terramaster NAS, and also find the links in the description on where you can purchase this NAS. And many thanks for Terramaster, to sponsor this video is absolutely amazing. Thanks ever so much for watching. Goodbye.